to be our next guest on talking a little bit of more Commanders and also talking about the NFL in general. It's been a big week for you, Champ. I did see that Sith has squeaked ahead even of you and taking a one-game lead. I had misspoke on your podcast. I thought you were tied for a lot of the day, but at the end of the day, he did take a one-game lead, I believe, over you going into tonight's action. I'm not sure if you guys picked differently tonight, but it's been quite a fun pick'em year. Some interesting surprises for sure. But Arun, I'm going to welcome you in now and get your quick thoughts on the Commanders before we talk about the NFL in general. Ooh. So I think, Arun, are you there? Nope, I think you're.
Oh, what's going on in the room?
I don't know. He says it's not muted in the. There we go. I got
There
you
he
now.
is.
Okay. Yeah. So I thought the running game it wasn't really there for the Commanders, but they still were able. Their defense made Ritter look really bad, and but people were chanting for Taylor Heineke at the stadium. But overall, the Falcons, I think if the Commanders came out with this kind of effort the past couple of games, maybe they would have won.
Not only were they chanting for Taylor Heineke, but also it was suddenly Matt Ryan homecoming day because he was doing commentary in the broadcast booth, and so they was doing a whole bunch of hyping him up too.
Yeah. So Matt Ryan, bring Heineke, bring I don't know whoever RG3. Yeah, they just didn't have it. The Kyle Pitts had a good game, but other than that, the Commanders' defense was much better, and they should have brought this against the Bears. Maybe it was a short week, but I think if they had lost this game, Ron Rivera would have been on the hot seat even more than before, and he was able to get a win. He was able to get them up for this game. Now he has to get them up for the Giants.
Yeah, let's talk about the Giants for a second. Arun, did you get to watch any of that Buffalo Giants game?
I followed it. Tyrod Taylor got the start instead of Daniel Jones, and it was supposed to be a 14-point spread, but the Giants defense actually kept them in it, and the Bills, they blew out the Commanders, but they, for some reason, I think they take some of these New York teams more lightly, like the Jets. They lost to when Aaron Rodgers got injured, and they played the Giants without Daniel Jones. And I think if the Giants were able to get some semblance of offense, they may have pulled off the upset. But it just goes to show that the Commanders can't take the Giants lightly. Even, the Bills almost lost to them, and the Bills are one of the top teams in the NFL. And then they can't. Washington needs to have momentum. They can't be inconsistent. They can't lose like they did against the Bears. They have to play like they're playing the Bills, or they're playing the Eagles, or give that kind of effort to start out the game and finish the game strong.
Yeah. Dak Prescott just played Houdini, threw it across his chest, which I always tell you not to do, into the middle of the field, and a great spin move gets him out of a tackle, and he ultimately goes. Pollard went his 80 reception yards now, but that was probably 50 yards or so right there. It was a crazy play, and unfortunately that sets them up in the red zone, 1st and 10, 14:03 left in the fourth quarter. Man, that's frustrating because the game was tied, and I felt like momentum was going slightly towards the Chargers. But now with this, I think that unfortunately the boys have got that back a little bit. But what sort of? I'll talk to Champ first. Were there any other games that you found really interesting in this week's NFL action?
I will say first and foremost, yes, Sith has a 1-game lead over me, but we differ on the winner of this game, this Monday Night Football game. He's picking the Chargers. I picked the Cowboys, which is sacrilege being a longtime Washington football team fan. But I did pick the Cowboys to win this game. So if they do win, we will end up being tied for first in the Pick'em League. But I think what's interesting, I think a big story that came out of this week is Anthony Richardson, the rookie first round pick for the Colts. Their quarterback might be looking at season-ending shoulder surgery on his grade 3 sprain of his AC joint. He's already been put on IR, so he's going to miss 4 games. But now there's stories coming out now that he's looking at season-ending surgery, and now it's talking about he is going to end up being out the rest of the season. So think about that for a second. That this kid gets drafted in the top 10 and is supposed to be the franchise quarterback for the Colts. And now he's about to miss the rest of his rookie season on an injury after week 6. I mean, that's crazy. But when I look at other games that happened on this week, I think the one game that intrigued me outside of course, the Commanders and the Falcons was in that same game where Richardson got hurt. Jacksonville actually really showed up and really showed out. Not only that, but then Miami also bounced back as well. After they got blown out the week prior, they came back and Tua went out and had a game, and Tyreek Hill had a game. Not only did Tyreek Hill have a game, but one of his touchdown catches, he went and grabbed his cell phone and did a backflip selfie as a celebration. So I'm pretty sure he's going to catch a fine for that. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't care because of the fact that he got that off. But this is a very unique week of football in that, you saw a team like Miami bounce back after they got blown out the week prior. You see a team like the 49ers who lost Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey in the same game lose to Cleveland in the last minutes of the game. You see Joe Burrow, who's still struggling. He's only had one really good game in 6 games this season. He had another subpar game. And it's just crazy to see how the season already playing out when we're only 6 games into the season. We're a third of the way through. We're pretty much a third of the way through, and we're seeing a lot of different things. But I think the big thing that I think a lot of people are looking at is the fact that the Jets ended the undefeated streak of the Philadelphia Eagles, exposing Jalen Hurts and really making Jalen Hurts look like a pedestrian quarterback with their victory. I think that was a surprise of all the games out of this week. And the fact that coupling with the 49ers loss, we have no more undefeated teams. Every team now has at least one loss on their docket. So the Dolphins of 72 as well as the Patriots of 2009 can rest easy that no one else is going to have an undefeated season because of the fact that both of those teams lost this week.
Yeah, I was really shocked about the Browns one. I did not see that one coming at all. I mean, I guess I was shocked by both of them. I just can't believe that the Jets had never beaten the Eagles in their franchise history, which is just kind of a crazy stat. Arun, what's some of the games that were interesting to you this week?
Yeah, the Browns 49ers game, that was probably the big, and then the Jets versus the Eagles. Jets beating not only the Eagles, but they beat the Bills earlier this season. Their defense really shut down Jalen Hurts, and those are the 2 games that really stood out to me.
They almost beat Patrick Mahomes too. I mean, that's kind of crazy because everyone thought that once their quarterback goes down at the beginning of the season that they'd have like no chance in the year, and their defense really is pretty amazing.
And there's a report that Aaron Rodgers might come back by week 13. So
is that's real?
There was a social media post. I'm being so serious. There's a social media post that showed Aaron Rodgers on the field making throws. It looked like he wasn't even limping.
That's insanity. Arun, who did you have in this game between the Cowboys and the Chargers? I see that I had the Cowboys.
I picked the Cowboys to win, I think, but I don't remember if I updated it on the ESPN pigskin pick.
I'm gonna just check real quickly, just because I'm curious.
On my blog, I picked the Cowboys.
Yeah, you picked the Cowboys also in this one. So Currently, they're at 2nd and 12 at the 18-yard line. Drops back to pass. That's an easy catch for a first down. They'll have it at 1st and goal on the 2-yard line. So they're threatening right now to score. There's still 12:23 left in the fourth, so plenty of time for them to choke it away. 5-3 is the current score. Still in this baseball game. 2 outs on the top of the 8th. So we've been monitoring that game as well. So it's been a fun sports night for sure. I'm happy that the Capitals won. One thing that was able to happen, I'm going to change our graphic real quickly. We just got live recordings from the shootout from our correspondent C4, who couldn't join us live on air tonight, but we can show her footage live on air for these wins, for the shootout win. So I'm going to try something. I've never done this before because I've never had someone send me live footage on air. But let me just see if this works. I'm going to try one thing real fast. Quick time player wise, I'm just showing up. Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to do this on the fly. Here it is. So I think if I do this and then I hit this button over here, does this show up on? It does, I think. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that it's showing up live on air. It is. All right, so this is the first goal. This is TJ Oshie, and this was his miss. This is the one that Gil was talking about. So he goes down here, and he tries to go wide and shoot it, but a good save there by the goalie. Let me see. Can I get the other two to load in on the same window? Nope, I have to reshare it. Share screen. Sorry, I'm just learning how to do. I've never done live video feeds before, but it's cool. I can pick it up and put it back. So I think, I don't know. Share screen.
While Robbie is doing that, can we all, anybody who's out there listening or watching, please say a prayer for Charles Leno and his family. Leno had to miss this past Sunday's Falcons game due to the death of his daughter. So please make sure that you say a prayer to his family, because as a father myself and Robbie as well, that's one of the things you can't even imagine is burying your children. It's it's supposed to be that your children bury you, not the other way around. So make sure you say a prayer to Charles Leno and his family.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I feel like it's not getting very much play. Like people aren't talking about it. People don't want to talk about it. I'm not quite sure why that is.
Yeah, I mean, a tweet went out prior to the game saying he was inactive due to personal reasons, but it wasn't stated what the personal reason was. But then during the broadcast, the announcers mentioned that that was what was the reason for his missing the game.
Did they say how he died? I missed that.
No, they didn't say how she died, but they just said that she passed. That's all that we know.
Interesting. Well, yeah, my heart goes to them for sure. That's brutal. All right, I do think that we got the game-winning goal now queued up. So we got Kuzi here. I'm gonna play it in real time, and you guys can't hear it anyway because it's on a different computer. But so he does this really super slow thing that Gil was talking about, where he dekes like 500 times. Goes back and forth, 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 and then
boom,
quickly rips it and gets it up and over the corner. So very cool to get a live shot of this, because then I don't have to have the rights of the NHL network or whatever. And so I really appreciate C4 for doing it. It's the only goal that happened in the shootout. So this is you can see right there, he gets it up and over the net. It's a very cool thing. And now we can say we've showed live footage on air, which is a cool, I feel like a telestrator, right? Hold it here. Yeah. And so I appreciate C4 for being able to do that. And I'm going to go back to our I do want to talk a little bit about the Ravens game and how exciting that game was out in England. Sorry. So, Champ, did you get a chance to watch any of this game in London?
I didn't watch it, but I was following it because of the fact that I had Derrick Henry and Odell Beckham Jr. playing in fantasy. It looked like a pretty good game actually between them, with Baltimore coming out on top. But Derrick Henry had a really good game. Almost had 100 yards rushing. Ended up with 97 total at the end, but he did have a touchdown. Unfortunately, Odell Beckham on the other side of it, another struggling game for him. It looks like they're not getting him involved in the offense as much as they should. And I think that's something that the Ravens need to really start to focus on, because Odell Beckham is a very talented wide receiver. Even though he is dealing with an ankle ailment, I think that he can definitely be a big part of that offense, and I think that needs to happen. Other than that, Lamar Jackson did have a touchdown pass, and Justin Tucker had 6 field goals in this game, 6 of them. So he really was the big MVP for the Ravens on this one in order to get them the victory over there in London. Very tough one for the Ravens, but a good win for them to bounce back after, to give them a little bit of a bounce back win. Titans need to figure it out, and they need to figure it out fast. I mean, Derrick Henry clearly is the offensive catalyst for this team because of his running style, and plus he can catch the ball out the backfield as well. They need to really get that together. Otherwise, they're going to struggle this season. They're going to really struggle.
Yeah, special teams was huge. We talked about that in the Commanders game, but big, punt returns for them, setting themselves in good field position. Just overall, putting themselves in a good place. I mean, his longest field goal was only 41 yards, and we know Justin Tucker is pretty clutch. And so it was just an interesting back and forth affair. If you were curious about the scoring, it started off with a 41-yard field goal. Then Nick Folk answered with a 26-yard field goal. And Justin Tucker had a 28-yard field goal to end the first quarter. So a lot of kicking in a soccer stadium. And then Justin Tucker got a 23-yard field goal in the second quarter. Lamar Jackson passed and a touchdown. The point after was blocked, which I thought was interesting. I can't even remember the last time Justin Tucker got a point after blocked. I made it 15-3, and then he got a 29-yard field goal to make it 18-3. On the other side, in the third quarter, they got a field goal back, and they rushed to the left for a 15-yard touchdown, and they made the point after to make it 18-13. And then the Ravens got 2 more field goals in the fourth, and then Titans got a field goal to cut it to 24-16, but that's the closest they were able to get, as the onside kick was not successful. Arun, any thoughts on this game?
Which one?
The Baltimore game?
The Baltimore game, yeah. The Titans, I don't know, like, I thought the Ravens, they were coming off a disappointing loss, and so they wanted to make it up. They struggled, I think, a little bit also against the Texans, like in week 1, even though they won that game. It's good to see Zay Flowers get his first career touchdown. And let's see if the Ravens can keep it up, because that Steelers loss was a bummer for I'm not really a big Ravens fan, but I don't really like the Steelers that much. But it's interesting that the Steelers, they've also been kind of up and down, but it just goes to show anything can happen in the division. But after those kind of devastating losses, it's a good teams come out and respond, and that's what the Ravens did, even if the Titans aren't that good.
For sure. They have an interesting matchup against Detroit, who's been one of the really hot teams this year. Arun, I'll start with what are your thoughts on that matchup?
If Jared Goff, sometimes he looks like he's been looking really great. Their schedule, they beat the Chiefs in week 1. They've taken advantage of some of the softer teams in their schedule, like the Panthers. They just destroyed the Bears, although the Bears, maybe they're not that bad given they beat the Commanders, but Lions have just been stomping on teams.
Actually, they didn't beat the Bears. They beat Atlanta, Green Bay, Carolina, and Tampa. Yeah. They haven't actually played the Bears yet. But so But yeah, they did lose to Seattle, which is such a hit or miss team. I never really know
That
what you're going to
Seattle
get
game
for
was
Seattle.
surprising. That through like Seattle hasn't really. I mean, they haven't been really playing well. Other than after week 2, I thought after they beat the Lions, they'd be playing a lot better. But yeah, the Lions they got I think David Montgomery, he hurt his ribs, but um they Jamison Williams, he had an incredible catch, and Armon St. Brown, he's been a great receiver even since last year. So it just depends if Jared Goff keeps playing mistake-free football. They're going to be a really good team down the stretch, and they showed it in Week 1 when they beat the Chiefs. Even though they were playing, the Chiefs were playing without their top defensive end, but they've been taking care of like their schedule. So the Lions and Ravens game, that should probably one of the best games next weekend, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it would be a really good 1 o'clock game. I'm happy that it's in Baltimore. Champ, what are your thoughts on that game?
I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup for the Ravens. Lions have only lost once this season. Jared Goff is playing great. He has 1,618 yards passing with 11 touchdowns against 3 interceptions so far this season. So he's been playing very well. St. Brown is going to be the key to the Lions' success. He already has 38 receptions for 455 yards and 3 touchdowns so far. Zay Flowers was able to finally score his first NFL touchdown as a rookie. So, I mean, Zay Flowers is definitely, as I mentioned earlier, Odell Beckham needs to be involved in the offense, but so does Zay Flowers as well as their top pick in this past year's draft. So they're definitely going to have to really get their wide receivers involved. They're definitely going to have to get the running game involved as well. Gus Edwards already has a touchdown, but only has 282 yards rushing through 6 games. So that's not going to get it done, averaging almost 4 yards a carry so far. So they got to get that together and things of that nature. But I think that Baltimore can they can do some good things, but I've already done my pick 'em for this week, and I'm picking Detroit in this one only because of the fact that I think that Detroit is just really playing on another level this year. Jared Goff is playing well, and they're just doing so well. I think it's going to be a struggle for Baltimore, even though they're at home. I think it's going to be a struggle for Baltimore to win this game unless they can get their two they can get Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. involved in the passing game, and they can get the running game going. If they can do that, I think they can win it, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's some interesting matchups. Just going through it here. We got the Jaguars versus the Saints is the Thursday night football game. And then we got Raiders and Bears. Got Browns and Colts. Got the Bills playing the Patriots. And we talked about the Commanders and Giants game. The Falcons play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then Detroit goes to Baltimore. And so that's the end of your 1 o'clock games. The 4 o'clock games, Pittsburgh is going to the LA Rams. The Cardinals are playing the Seahawks. And then Green Bay is playing the Denver Broncos. And then also the Chargers are playing at the Chiefs. I think that'll be a pretty good win for the Chiefs. And then the Dolphins are playing at the Eagles. I think that's going to be a tough matchup in a lot of ways. And then so that's the Sunday night game. And next week's game we will talk about live will be the 49ers and the Vikings. So I guess we probably won't get to see Anna live next week since the 49ers are playing. But we'll have the return of C4 and Gil, I'm sure, for that one. But any games that stand out to you, Arun, in the next week's slate?
As you mentioned, the Lions and Ravens stand out. I'm always curious how the Commanders do against the Giants, even though Daniel Jones may be out. I don't know, like the other one, the Steelers versus the Rams, seeing Cooper Kupp and the standout rookie Puka, and then the Sunday night game, Dolphins and the Eagles. That should be a pretty epic game. The Eagles are coming off a bad loss to the Jets, but they're playing at home, and that should be a very exciting game. Tua versus Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And Champ, any of these games that standing out to you?
Well, two of them stand out to me, and that's, of course, the Commanders-Giants game. The Commanders have given up almost 130 yards rushing this season so far, and Saquon Barkley is back, and we know that Saquon Barkley can really open up a game if he has a chance. So that front seven is definitely going to have to be on their toes dealing with him. And then, as Hurt mentioned during his segment earlier on, the quarterback situation is going to be the determining factor on whether they win this game, which is if it's Daniel Jones who's dealing with a neck injury, which he has admitted in an interview that it's the same neck injury that kept him out for quite a few games a couple seasons ago. If he's out of this game, then we have to deal with Tyrod Taylor, who's a very mobile quarterback. And we've had struggles with mobile quarterbacks so far this season. So if he's playing, if Tyrod Taylor is starting, we're going to have problems. The other game that intrigues me is the Dolphins-Eagles matchup because you have two very mobile and very, very talented quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts for the Eagles and Tua for the Dolphins. Tua's having a hell of a season with it's already throwing for almost 1,900 yards, 14 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. Hurts' stat line has kind of got hurt after his game against the Jets yesterday. He's got 7 touchdown passes against 7 interceptions. I think the running backs is going to be an interesting matchup with Raheem Mostert really showing like a resurgence in his career going up against DeAndre Swift. And then, of course, Tyreek Hill is just a game-changing wide receiver, but he'll be going up against A.J. Brown. Mostert will be getting a lot more time running because their rookie is down with an injured knee. He's going to be down for the next 4 games or maybe even longer. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this game. But this Sunday night game is a very intriguing matchup, whether anybody wants to believe it or not. As a true football fan, this is a great matchup because you have 2 5-1 teams. They're at the top of their divisions with 2 talented quarterbacks, young quarterbacks who can go out there and sling it. It's going to be either a high. I feel like this is going to be a high. This is going to be a shootout. This is going to be a shootout. Absolutely. And it's going to definitely be a shootout, especially if Slay is not playing. He's listed as questionable for this game. So if he's not playing, this is definitely going to be a shootout between these two teams.
For sure. I do want to give a little scoring update in this baseball game. And I'm going to put up the little graphic for a second for that. So Bryce Harper becomes the 4th person in baseball history to hit a home run on his birthday. And they do so in a win. So they take a 1-0 lead in the National League pennant game. So championship game. And so, yeah, it's so good for our old friend Bryce Harper. And I'm happy for him on his birthday. Again, a big 5-3 victory. Unfortunately, this Cowboys game versus is that a penalty on them in the end zone? Did they get it? Ooh, 1st and goal for the Chargers here, 8:36. We'll keep it live here for this one. Switch it to full screen over there. So this has been an interesting battle so far. And it's now 2nd and goal. And Arun, what are your thoughts on this game so far tonight?
I want the Cowboys to lose, but I don't know. I think that's probably like a home game. All the bandwagon LA fans are showing up probably to watch this game, so it is what it is, and that's why I picked Dallas to win. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're both wrong. It drops back to throw it. Incomplete. So it's gonna be 3rd and goal here. 7:54 left in the 4th quarter. Again, the Chargers are down 7 to the dreaded Cowboys, and so we'll hope for something to pull through here. So let me take off the MLB graphic there. I do want to do one little update on the Orioles. They had
very disappointing what happened to the Orioles. Very disappointing.
For sure. MLB too. So I'm putting up the MLB. Putting up the graphics package for the Orioles. So I do want to point out that they are they were the East champs, but the American League really struggled in this playoffs, and that team from Texas, the Rangers, just really took out all of the teams in the American League East, and so it's very frustrating. This bye week did not do them any favors. A couple weeks ago we were like, oh, they're going to bye, they get their injuries right, but all the top seeds in baseball all went down, and so it wasn't just the Orioles that were affected by that. In fact, the Braves went down as well. And so, by the way, it's 4th and goal, and they are going to go for it.
Yeah, I'm watching it now. I put it on my computer because I had to see what's going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, the 3rd highest rating of going for it in the NFL, this coach has. But I mean, I think you have to at this point. 7:15 left. I'm not sure that a field goal really does you any favors, especially because you just watched Dallas march down the field. So I think if you're on within the 5-yard line, I think it's worth taking a chance, especially because even if you turn it over, they're at least so deep that maybe you can get an interception or a fumble or a safety. So anyway, we'll keep it here for this 4th and goal.
That was a big tackle, open field tackle on 3rd and goal to stop them from getting in the end zone, by the way. So that was a big play by the Dallas defense.
Yep. Oh, they faked the run and in for the touchdown. Big time touchdown. The Charger fans are going nuts. Everett with the 1-yard reception there. Makes it 17-16 with an extra point coming. Wouldn't it be funny if they went for 2 here? I don't think they're going to, but
what's funny is that I'm kind of conflicted because I did pick the Cowboys to win this and to pick them, but I have Justin Herbert as my starting quarterback in one of my fantasy leagues, and that was points for me. So I'm like really torn here.
They are going to kick it here, and it's up, and it is through. It's a tie game with 7:11 left in the 4th quarter. So yeah, we don't have a lot of good things to talk about the Orioles. I'll just quickly say that they were shut out and they were swept in the series, which was definitely unfortunate. And it really puts a sour taste in my mouth because I don't know which Texas team I would root for because I don't particularly like the Astros. And obviously the what?
You would root for the Astros.
I would root for the Astros over the
I'm from South Texas. You can't root for the fucking Rangers.
All right, it's fair. My wife's just saying that I can't root for the fucking Rangers.
What's funny is that somebody I was on my team meeting today at my job, and someone mentioned about the Houston Astros and rooting for them, and I had to make sure to remember I had to be a professional, not say, "Oh, you mean the cheaters?"
Yeah. So I don't know.
I didn't say it though. I didn't say it, but I thought it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to root for either of those teams. Just, I don't like either of them, but I do have a lot of family that roots for the Astros, so I do understand that side of it. But at this point, I'm just kind of rooting for Philly to win it all, which my wife really doesn't want to happen because every time Philly wins it all, there's a recession. And we're right on that, border right now, and so she's been rooting hard against Philly every year because of that. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna root for them, but I can understand that sentimentality. So, Arun, are you gonna watch any more of this baseball playoffs, or is it kind of done for you?
I'm kind of I kind of was paying attention to the Braves and Philly series, but it's after the Orioles loss, I don't really have like a real rooting interest. I guess maybe I'll be rooting against some team, but it just hasn't come to me yet.
That's fair. All right, Champ, do you have any final thoughts on baseball before we switch to talk a little bit of basketball?
The fact that 2 100-win teams got swept out of the first round of the playoffs shows you how there's a lot of parity in baseball, and it's just crazy to me that the 2 teams that really dominated their divisions are not even in the championship series. It's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's just funny because it reminds me of the time where the Nationals beat 200-win teams on the route to their World Series, which now seems like so long ago. It
was only 4 years ago.
So who's this girl that they keep showing that's just going absolutely nuts at this Cowboys game?
I want to know who that
is.
is too. I really want to know who that is too. She's like going in. Like, look at her.
I know that is something. I wish I could get that excited about anything. She
I get that excited for Commanders football as well as wrestling. So I mean, yeah, I feel where she's coming from.
It's fair. All right, let's talk a little bit of Wizards real quickly. I'm going to pull up their preseason schedule and how they're doing. And I'll start off by asking either of you guys, have you watched any of this preseason basketball? I'll start off with you, Champ.
I haven't watched a couple of these matchups so far, but I did follow them because thankfully I have the Score app and it gives me scoring updates and things like that. So the Wizards were able to win their first two. They were able to beat the Taipans in a big way, 145 freaking points. I don't remember the last time the Wizards scored that many points in any game, let alone in a preseason game. And so my thing is that looking at this, they were one big in their first preseason game, and then they squeaked out one against the Hornets. So I have that cautious optimism about this team. I mean, this is going to be the first season in a long time that they're going to be playing a regular season without Bradley Beal. So it's going to be interesting to see what this team can do and how they're going to be able to perform. I mean, they got two more preseason games against the Knicks on Wednesday and then the Raptors on Friday before they open things up properly on the 25th against the Pacers on the road. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this preseason and look at what's going on with the preseason to see what's going on before I make any kind of before I either temper my optimism or hype my optimism in what this team can do this season. Up, down goes Prescott.
Yes, it's fourth sack of the game, and I can't believe that Dallas hasn't had a single sack in this whole game. So we got 6:12 left. 3rd and 19, a very big sack. I'm just going to go through the scoring of the second game, the Hornets game, because at least let's compare it to NBA level talent, because clearly the other team, didn't have a lot of talent on it. So the Hornets had a big lead after the end of the first quarter, 30-23. They both scored 22 points in the second quarter. Really great defensive effort by the Hornets in the third quarter. They held the Wizards to only 18 points and scored 23. And then in the fourth quarter, the Wizards put up 35 points, just crazy, and held the Hornets to 17. And they actually got a win with only basically winning one quarter, which is hard to do. Arun, what are your thoughts on these first two games?
Yeah, the first game was a blowout, but that team was probably worse than like some. I think Villanova would have been that whatever team that was put out there by Australia. And then the Hornets game, the Wizards were down by a big margin. I think Jared Butler, he was pretty big. He was from that Baylor team that won the national championship. And I don't know if he's going to get any time on this team because they already have three really decent point guards in Tyus Jones, DeLon Wright, I'm forgetting somebody else. And so he's going to be hard pressed to find minutes, but he looked really good, hitting a couple, I think a three down the stretch of that game. Johnny Davis he looks like a legit NBA player. He still needs to work on his 3-point shot, but he's getting a lot of points in transition, and it's a lot. He looks actually a little bit more athletic. But Kuzma's looked really good. He's getting anything he wants at the rim. Poole has been a little bit. He was hitting everything against the Australian team. He was missing a lot of shots in the Hornets game, and overall, pretty low scoring game for the Wizards after putting up 144 points against the Hornets. They would put up less than 100. It's about getting better, and Bilal Coulibaly, looks like a really good draft pick. He's probably the best. He looks like the best draft pick outside like outside like the top three, like in a really long time. I can't remember. Probably like Richard Hamilton. It's the last guy that comes to mind.
a little bit of an update in this game. So the Cowboys were on the ropes, as to take a wrestling term, and you thought they were down and out, and two holding penalties on one play by the Chargers, both of them, and they get an automatic first down, and then a big running play gets them down to the 45-yard line, and Dak missed on the throw there on first down. Second down, they do a running play, get 3 there, making it 3rd and long, 4:45 left in this game, 3rd and 7 here. And it's been an interesting matchup here, a very close game for sure. And the upcoming games is real fast while we wait to see how that next play is. Champ was already talking about it. At New York on Wednesday, and then at Toronto on Friday. And so we'll recap both of those games next week, and then the regular season starts Wednesday, October 25th at the Pacers, and then Saturday, October 28th against Memphis, and then Monday, October 30th we play against Boston. So we'll recap the first 2 games of the season and have a post game live for that, if not overtime or something with the game. And Dallas, unfortunately, is able to convert. Prescott escapes pressure and a great route run right there. And the Cowboys are.
That was CD Lamb. That was CD Lamb.
So now the Chargers got to hope to get to push them back and push them just out of field goal range here. Running play that gets them, 1 or 2 yards on first down there. 4 minutes left in the fourth, and the Chargers still have 2 timeouts left, and the Cowboys have 1. And again, this is a tied game. So a lot of games will be on Mondays this season. So we'll be doing a lot of, watching parties and post games in this 10:30 slot going forward. I'll get each one of you guys a final thought on the Wizards. Champ, any other thoughts on the New York or Toronto games?
I think that, again, a lot of people don't put a lot of stock in preseason games, but the preseason gives you a good barometer of where the team is at, and plus what the coaches are looking at in terms of lineups and things like that going forward in the postseason, in the regular season. So I think that people need to take some stock in the preseason to understand what the coaches want to do in terms of lineups and who they want in there in certain situations and things like that. So I think that these 2 preseason games should be a good barometer to see where this team is going to be at, because apparently, we talked about that this is a rebuild year. They've gotten rid of their franchise player and Bradley Beal. They still have Kuzma, and Kuz did some work against the Hornets this game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'm interested to see how they do with these last 2 preseason games before they start proper on the 25th.
Oh, interesting. So the call on the field, really interesting play here. The Cowboys thought they got a big catch, but he did trap it.
Nah, that's incomplete.
Right, but they called it a catch, but then before they even had a chance to review it, they changed the ruling on the field, which I thought was interesting. 3rd and 9 here, 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Big play coming up. Arun, any other thoughts on the Wizards preseason?
Just looking for Corey Kispert to kind of get it going. He closed the season off really strong, and he looked like he could be like a 20-point per game kind of scorer, just based on the last couple of games. He hasn't really played that well in the preseason. And just watching also around the league how Lillard and Giannis will play, how Beal looks at their new big 3, how Porzingis, he had a nice crossover on Daniel House, and he's been playing pretty well. Even though they said he's injured, he looks pretty much the same. So just getting excited. It's like about a week away from the NBA season, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, with that, we're going to take off the NBA graphic, and we're going to go back to the NFL one, and we're going to watch this play happen live real fast. It's a big play, I think, in this game. 3rd and 9 here for the Cowboys. They are right on the edge of field goal range, so a sack here could knock them out of that. So we'll see here. There are 4 for 11 on third downs so far in tonight's game. The Cowboys, that is. But it's a pass.
I'm a little bit behind you, Robbie, so I'm trying to keep up and see what's going on.
It's a first down. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, with that, I think, Arun, any final thoughts that you want to share before we let you go?
Yeah, today's the anniversary of the the Cardinals losing that game to the Bears, and they gave up a huge lead. And Dennis Allen,
God.
They are who we thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
And we let them off the hook.
Yeah. So happy anniversary to that, and I'll probably be watching that on YouTube after this game is over.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm about to go look for that now.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I don't know what just happened there. I think it's some sort of penalty. What?
The official wasn't ready.
Yeah, I was watching. I'm watching it now. Like the official was still there, like in the middle of all that. Like he didn't even get to where he need to be.
That is such a weird play. All right, 1st and 10, 2:42 left. We'll see if they can hold on to it there. But thank you, Arun, for being a part of the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
By the way, Robbie, the reason for that, for the stoppage was there was a late substitution and the umpire was trying to get everything sorted before he got out of there. So that's what happened there.
Yeah. So it looks like on 1st down they run it to try to force them to use a timeout, which they did. So they have 1 timeout remaining at 2nd and 10. Is that how you do it? Let me see. I should change the graphic. Does that work? Why is it not working? I know it should. Weird. All right, there you go. I want you to let everyone know real quickly. I was just watching a play, I guess, from early in the game. So I mean, it's been a tight affair throughout. All right, let people know, Champ, what's happening on the No Spots podcast and what happened this past weekend, and what you can, what's coming up in the next week.
Right. So we had the podcast on Sunday, and we talked about everything that happened with the fallout from Fastlane, and we have Bound for Glory, which is Impact's one of Impact's big 4 pay-per-views that's coming up this Saturday. So we'll be live reacting to that this Saturday. It will be myself doing it by myself. Sith will be hanging out in the chat and things like that. But we have that coming up. So on either Friday of this week or either Saturday before Bound for Glory, we'll be recording the podcast previewing that pay-per-view and things like that. But one of the big wrestling stories that's come out, which we talked about on the podcast, is the fact that Vince McMahon, who is the current executive chairman of WWE, has been pretty much ordered by the CEO of Endeavor, who is basically the big boss in the merger between Endeavor with UFC and WWE, telling Vince McMahon that he is no longer to be a part of creative control for WWE, which is a big sigh of relief for wrestling fans because of the fact that Vince McMahon is so out of touch with the modern professional wrestling realm that this was necessary. So this coming week, we're going to preview Bound for Glory. We're going to talk about everything that happened this week in wrestling. And we're going to just, we're going to have some fun on Saturday when we look at Bound for Glory and everything like that. So yeah, it's going to be a great time. Make sure you check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. And I have to give a big shout out to not only Hector, who's been one of our biggest supporters on our live streams, but also to Robbie for being present for our podcast on Sunday, where I had some very emotional thoughts in my final thoughts, which is very rare that I get that emotional for final thoughts. But I had to get some shit off my chest, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we don't usually talk politics on this show. I mean, our catchphrase is DC Sports without the politics, but my heart goes to all the people, suffering out in Israel right now, especially as a Jewish man. Last week was very scary, for me and my family. My son is his school is in a building that's a Jewish community center, so they had to have extra police out there, for the Friday the 13th when they were calling for like jihad and stuff like that. And so it's just a scary time. So check on your Jewish friends, people who are from Israel and stuff like that. It's something that I don't feel is talked about enough. And you just don't see, Champ pointed out that you see a lot of bullshit, on Facebook and not a lot of real news and a lot of real conversations about things that matter. We've already talked about a player losing a child tonight on this, and people in so many children are dead because of what happened in the last couple of weeks. And it's just it's troubling. It's a troubling time. We try to use sports as an escape as much as we can, and that's what this show is based on. But it's important that we don't just sweep it all under the rug either. It has to still be mentioned. And tough time. So real quickly, back to this Monday Night Football game, the Cowboys had some interesting decisions there. They just threw it on 3rd and long into the end zone with an opportunity to score a touchdown for sure, but it was not a great throw by Dak Prescott, but it stopped the clock. And so they went for a field goal, and with 2:15 left in the fourth, they end up getting the 2-minute warning now, where it would have been a lot closer to it. And there's a flag here. It was a short yardage gain for the Chargers, but they have an opportunity here, Champ, to march down the field. Oh, wow. Offsides by the defense, replay first down. And so that will stop the clock.
That throw, even though that throw from Dak Prescott to Tony Pollard in the end zone wasn't a good one, the rule is if you get your hands on it, you're supposed to catch it.
Yeah, he was just so awkward out of bounds. I agree, but his hands were on it as he's drifting out of bounds. I just don't know if you can get 2 feet in. A running play there by the Chargers will probably take us to the 2-minute warning. And so I'm probably going to end the podcast, at least on the Facebook side there. If you want to watch it live, again, it's a 3-point game. We can hope that the Chargers find a way to come back. But we were able to cover a ton of sports this week. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, live on Facebook.
By the way, begrudgingly, I congratulate Calais Campbell on hitting 100 sacks in his career, even though it was against the Commanders.
Yes, that's true. It's kind of a surprising, I don't know. It was an interesting, they had back-to-back sacks, right, on that drive. And
yeah
it was a tough time. But it is what it is. We escaped with the win, especially with the interceptions. So hopefully they'll have a good game against the Giants. We got some two big games in Canada this week for the Caps, and the last preseason games for the Wizards. And next week should be a fun episode. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get another victory Monday. Anything else we want to shout out before we end the show, Champ?
No, just like I said, No Spots Podcast. We got a couple of streams going on this week. Again, on either Friday or Saturday midday. But either way, regardless of when we do the weekly wrestling podcast, the live stream reactions to Bound for Glory will be Saturday night. So make sure you check us out, and make sure you follow my co-host Sith on both Twitter and TikTok at TrueSithDan74. He has some very insightful things to say on those platforms, as well as his podcast, Sith's Basement, which you can find on Spotify. He's got a lot of countdowns on old school movies and things of that nature. So make sure you check him out as well.
Yeah. He sort of, I'm happy that we still have a show on the True Radio Network that's not all just sports. Because one of the things that we were known for is that we had a lot of sports, but we also had a lot of other content too. And so I'm happy that he can kind of spearhead, the other side of the content field. And Sith has been a big member of this show in the past. We'll have to get him back on one of these end of roundtables. Maybe I'll contact him to see if he wants to be a part of next week's roundtable while Tim's still out. I'd love to have him back on. He's killing the game and making predictions. He might be tied if the score still holds on here with the champ. And I'm just a couple of games behind you guys. But it's been really tight and exciting fantasy or pick'em this year. And shout out to my father-in-law who's right up there with us, and Dujunnea is right there too, and so is Hurt. So Arun is just a couple of games behind as well. So it's been really good. Huge sack though to start to force a third down with the clock running. We'll see what the Chargers get up and what they're going to do here on third down. But with that, we're going to end the audio podcast and our Facebook Live. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and being a part of DC Sports on the Hill podcast. Sports on the Hill podcast, DC Sports Without the Politics. We're episode 317. This was Cap's return live game. They got a win in the shootout. Victory Monday for the Commanders where they defeat Atlanta. We talked about DMV sports, including Baltimore, Orioles, and the Ravens, and also the NFL at large. And we also talked a little bit of Wizards preseason basketball. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. With that, we'll end our Facebook Live. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for listening to the audio podcast.
No Kigenyo. Sayonara.
All right. And with that, we are going to stop the
recording. Stopped.
And thank everybody for
he got picked off. He got picked off.
Really? Let me see. Did you get it? Yeah. Dang it. Well, that sucks.
Doesn't suck for me because now I'm about to be tied with Sith in the pick.
I know. I'm gonna be also.
Look, the girl.
That's really funny. She must be like related to somebody. I don't know. It's just it's such a bummer. What a way. I mean, they would have had to go pretty far down the field in not much time, but they had an opportunity there. It's a bummer for sure. Let's look at where we're going to raid tonight. I think we're going to go over to KR Acoustic, which we did last week, but Canadian Twitch Fest we did last year, which is super fun. A lot of my favorite streamers are all hanging out together in one house. TwitchCon is happening this weekend, but they kind of do it as kind of like a Canadian TwitchCon. And around one of our mods' birthdays, actually. So happy birthday to Peter, the modding mod, who's a mod over here. We'll go wish him a happy birthday and raid over to that. So our raid and sub raid are there. You can use the brand new Charizard emote. I want to thank everyone for all the huge support. The fact that we got to our stretch sub goals was huge. We got to that 20 mark, so that means we will be releasing a new emote hopefully next week, a updated Mew emote, so legendary or mythical Pokemon, and I'm going to do some really cool animation. I'm going to take the old one and make it HD and do some really cool animations to it and make it longer, because I made it years ago as one of my first emotes, but I've learned so much since then. Speaking of Pokemon, there's actually a Venomoth in chat. I'm going to catch that real quickly before we raid out. So that'll be cool. And then we'll also do since it was the stretch goal was met, I'll try to design a spooky graphics for our Twitch feed next week. So that way some like Halloween themed stuff for the next 2 weeks, as well as updating the SportsOTHP animated emote with some of our team logos and updating that for season 8 as well. So thank you everyone for helping me hit my subathon goal. 2 new emotes coming by the end of the month, and new layout that can be turned on and off by moderators and VIPs and subs will be introduced next week as well, hopefully, if all goes according to plan. Unfortunately, the Cowboys did ultimately win.
Which means I'm tied with Sif. Sif, you're not escaping me, sir. You're not. Yes, he already has a win streak over me in our predictions in wrestling. I gotta beat him in something. Okay, I gotta do it. I have to.
Yeah, I love that the No Spots is representing big in this league, and that you guys have the top 2 spots right now. All right, so with that, I don't think it's been updated yet. So I wonder who Hurt had. I'm gonna see now real quickly who he had in this game. So he also had the Cowboys.
Ooh, I caught Venomoth. Let's go.
Nice. Awesome. That's a cool Pokemon.
Well, you caught him too.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So cool. Oh, they got a whole stage for this year and set it up. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's a TwitchCon party, and we're gonna raid into it right now. And thank you everyone for tuning in, all the subs. Oops. Let me do the command right. So, and sub raid if you have it. And I want to just quickly, while we're waiting for this raid to go off, I want to thank everybody again for all the hype. We had a hype train that was complete at level 4 or 22% through level 4. 10 gift subs, 1,000 bits, including Tina gave out a gifted sub, resubbed. Ginger Dory gave out 5 community gift subs as well, and so it was it's just really nice of everyone to do part of that. Also, Ginger Dory gifted 1,000 bits, and Champ, thank you for your resub. Thank you to my dad for his resub and Carly for hers. I really appreciate all of you and all of the support. Again, next week we'll have a really exciting show. We'll talk more Capitals, talk more Commanders, talk a little bit more Wizards as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully we got some new emotes and new graphics coming very shortly. And I appreciate you, Champ, for co-hosting tonight's show as always. And definitely go check out the No Spots podcast. And with that, we're going to raid out. Have a good one.